You're listening to Odyssey, A Tale from the Road, an audiobook by Christopher Cologne. All rights reserved. Any resemblance to persons living or dead are purely coincidental.
Chapter 45. The goons lead me to Penny's dressing room. The whale was already there, seated on one of the couches. The couch, that seemed to be designed to hold the body weight of 4 or 5 people, seemed stressed under Arnie Ellis's mass. The room was already choked with cigar smoke. There was also a pungent smell of rotten fish and sour milk. I knew that smell was emanating from the whale's body. He had a waxy film that seemed to coat his whole face. His pores had oozed out oil that had reflected the light of the overhead lamps in the dressing room. A mangled mess of facial hair covered his jowls and double chin, as a failed attempt of a beard. His bloodshot, half-opened, watery eyes followed me as I entered the room with his goons. The room was dead silent, except for the sounds of the whale's labored breathing. The music from the concert rumbled off in the background, but as the goons closed the soundproof doors, the dressing room became as quiet as a tomb. What is this hippie shit? The whale was irritated, yet sedated. He knocked over a vase with flowers that had been sitting on an end table, off to the side of the couch. It made a loud crashing noise as the glass shattered, and flowers and water spilled out onto the floor. The whale looked around confused for a second. I knew that look, and I realized that Arnie Ellis was on some kind of narcotic, Oxycontin, Vicodin, morphine, something. When he was up by the stage, minutes ago, he had fire in his eyes. Now he looked doped up. He must have popped something recently. For a guy his size, it was probably a dose strong enough to kill a horse. He was a wreck. If his own weight wasn't enough pressure on his heart, now he was taking depressants. In his own mind he was untouchable, unstoppable, and immortal. He ate all he wanted, committed all the crimes he wanted, and did all the drugs he wanted. The living embodiment of gluttony, yet right now, he more resembled sloth. So this is the little shit that blinded my boy. Arnie Ellis said to nobody in particular, thinking out loud. You think you're so slick, don't you? Paul jumped in. We've got you now. No more tricks. No more escape attempts. None of your friends are here to help you now. He laughed. Paul pulled out his gun and pointed it in my direction. The goons also pulled their guns. Paulie. Relax. The whale seemed to come out of his haze. Not here. Not in my brother's place. The kid is ours. He ain't going nowhere. Paul tried to bargain with Arnie, but boss, this is the kid that burned Gabby's good eye. He has to pay, and pay right now. Arnie argued back. Paulie, put your gun down. I've spoken to Gabby about the incident. It was that spick stripper that started this whole thing. It all started because Gabby was dating that piece of trash. I don't what it is with my boy dating spicks and niggers. I thought it was just a phase he went through as a teenager. I told him it was fine as long as he didn't have any kids with them. I don't need the likes of those people polluting our bloodline. So that's what he gets for continuing to date people below his own race. Arnie, where your boy sticks his dick is his own business. I say we pop this kid right now. Paul pleaded. No. I'm sure we can come to some kind of arrangement. This kid is no use to me dead. He cost me money. If you kill him now, what do we stand to gain from it? I wondered if it was the drugs that had dulled Arnie's killer instinct. Surely I thought I'd be dead before I witnessed any of this conversation. Arnie's addiction was saving my life. I hope this new kinder, gentler Arnie would last long enough for me to wiggle out of the scenario. I know what we can do. Paul looked devious. His little girlfriend out there makes a good chunk of change. The boy is useless to us, but his girlfriend is a gold mine. I've heard she starts her solo career tomorrow. We can make her work for us to pay off Junior's doctor bills and then some. Now, you're speaking my language, Paulie. I think you're on your way to earning your promotion. I'm leaving you in charge of this. And if the kid or his girlfriend gives you any problems, snuff them. But, don't do anything stupid before that. I want my money. Arnie looked pleased as he started to lift himself off of the couch. Paul's nasal high-pitched voice sent needles down my spine. Yous and me are best friends, from now on. It's going to be your job to make sure you little girlfriend produces for us. Or, you know. Paul flashed his gun in my face. Arnie got up and the two goons flanked him. He was pleased with the turn of events. I'm going back to my limo. I'm tired. I couldn't let this happen to Penny. Arnie and his men have been known to dangle artists out of hotel windows, or place a gun to artists' head, to make them sign ridiculous contracts. Like the old Godfather movie adage, make them an offer they can't refuse. Except this wasn't a movie, this was very real. Arnie had lots of artists in his pocket, to fund his underworld syndicate. It was easy to launder money through the big money spent on artists' accommodations. This was 100 times worse than anything the suits had in store for Penny. And it was all my fault. I had made her an indentured servant and I haven't even said a word yet in her defense. I was letting her down, like my own bandmates, in the whale's trap. Just then the doors to the dressing room burst open. The thundering noise from the concert flooded the room. It was the Honorable Governor Theodore Ellis. He was clutching a suit by the collar of his expensive shirt. The governor was so tall, that he looked like Giant Kid, playing with a life-size rag doll. The rag doll in the governor's hands, was the suit that had waved goodbye to me, when Arnie's goons escorted me away from the side of the stage. It seems that, the governor was the first one observant enough to notice that I was missing. He questioned everyone in our entourage as to my whereabouts. Nobody had seen me go, except that particular suit. The suit tried to lie about not seeing me depart, but the governor saw right through that facade. If I was hurt at all, the governor was going to hold that suit responsible. I had a feeling they might be in here, said the suit, looking like a kitten being carried by the nape of its neck. The rest of our entourage followed the governor and his rag doll into the room. The other suits had tagged along, threatening the governor with charges of kidnapping if he didn't release their brother immediately. I was surprised that they had left the side of the stage, where they had planned to kidnap Penny the moment she finished playing the concert. "Hello Arnie," Governor Ellis said sarcastically, "fancy meeting you here. Is this business or pleasure? I see you brought your goons, so it must be business." "Brother," Arnie sang as he tried his best to appear genial. He took a labored breath, "It's always so good to see you. You know my boys are working security here tonight. So I came by to inspect the troops." "And what about him?" The governor pointed at me, "I'm surprised to see that he's still alive." "That isn't your style, Arnie." Arnie was so meek in front of his brother. He had commanded armies nefarious characters in his own world, but quivered like jello in the presence of older sibling. "Oh, come on now Teddy. The boy and I have come to a mutually beneficial agreement. It's nothing for you to dirty your hands with or worry about." "I'm almost afraid to ask." Governor Ellis sighed, "But if I know anything about you Arnie, is that you are anything but fair. I'm tired you dealing with your bullshit. I think it's time to renegotiate the terms of this so-called agreement." I knew what I had to do. I needed to redeem myself. The dominoes have all been set up. It was my job to knock the first one down and watch the rest fall in succession. I yelled out, "He wants to take over Penny's contract. He said that it will be my job to keep her in line and producing music for years to come. It's for me to repay Gabby, for what I did to his eye." The reaction was exactly what I expected and hoped for. The suit being held by the governor, was incensed and shook himself free from the governor's grip and got his footing. He charged towards Arnie Ellis and commanded, "You will do no such thing. Penny is our client and is under contract to us." As I expected, the suit got right in Arnie's fat face. The other suits charged over to back up their brother. Paul had grabbed his gun and pointed it at the suit and yelled out, "You better back up buddy. You have no idea who you're fucking with." The other suits noticed the gun and backed up a bit. The suit had lost his mind, and answered, "Paul, I don't give a fuck who this is." He then addressed Arnie, "I know who you are. I've seen your picture on television. Do you think that scares me? You're not going to get away with this. You aren't going to intimidate or extort us. I'll die first." Paul pointed the weapon, "That's exactly what I had in mind." The governor cried out, trying to take command of the situation, "Arnie, tell your man to put his gun away. Now." Upon hearing the governor scream the word gun, the state troopers spilled into the room. The troopers started to bark out to Paul, "Drop your gun. Do it now." The two goons flanking Arnie had also pulled out their guns in response to the state troopers' entrance. Minerva, Stephen, Layla, Bruce, and the governor were all in the room. If they got hurt it would be all my fault. I really didn't care about the suits or Arnie's men. I had caused this ruckus. This is what the state troopers were trained for, but I had put them in harm's way by instigating the situation. Some of Arnie's men and the security guards on their payroll had responded to the disturbance in the dressing room. Arnie's men didn't take kindly to the state troopers pointing their guns at Paul and Arnie. Arnie's men demanded that the troopers drop their weapons. Everybody was screaming, and for the first time, I didn't hear the concert blaring in the background. Then all hell broke loose.
Please visit twostrangersonepodcast.net.